Let's bring in Rhett Ballinger, who covers the team for MLB.com. And Rhett, we appreciate the time. The Angels had to know that this was a very real possibility. What do you think is going through the collective minds of Angels and the organization now that Shohei has decided to play for the Dodgers?
Yeah, it's a tough day for the Angel organization. This is a guy that meant a lot to them. They still wanted him back. They had this guy for 6 years, but they never won a playoff game, never made it to the postseason. So it has to hurt to know they didn't do enough to keep the best player probably in baseball history. I think if they would have been able to win, I think they would have been able to keep him. But he went across the street to the Dodgers, to a team that has won consistently now for more than a decade. So I think the Angels now have to pivot. They had to know this was coming. So, Perry Manassian, the GM, had said he has a plan A, a plan B, a plan C in case this happened. I think they'll spend money. I think they'll still go out and maybe get a big bat and the top of the rotation type of starters still, because they still want to be a competitive team. But this is a team that only won 73 games last year with Ohtani as both a pitcher and a hitter. So that's why even if they signed him, it would have been tough to add much more to a roster that only won 73 games.
Now, Rhett, to your point, you can start to see the beginnings of a young nucleus being formed in Anaheim. They've got a new manager, of course, in Ron Washington. Where does this franchise and organization go from here?
Well, they're not going to rebuild. I think it's a team that owned by Artie Moreno that just doesn't really want to rebuild, even if it would make sense to trade somebody like Mike Trout. But we know Mike Trout is not going to be traded. Perry Manassian said that at the winter meetings, that they're not going to trade their superstar. So for now, they're going to try to build around Mike Trout. They do have a young core right now, some young guys they debuted last year. Nolan Shanwell and Zach Neto and Logan O'Hoppe. So they do have some young players that are nice. And the rotation could definitely use some work. They could still add to their bullpen, but they have a lot of needs. So as much as losing Shohei is definitely tough for them, I think in terms of flexibility for their roster and even payroll flexibility, I think it could help them in the long run, just because they still have Trout's contract through 2030 and even Anthony Rendon's for 3 years as well.
All right, we'll get you out here on this one real quick, Rhett. And I'm going to ask you to speculate, and that's unfair to you, and I apologize in advance. Do you see, even despite Perry Manassian saying we're not trading Mike Trout, that maybe the window or door is still open for Trout to be dealt either now or at some point during the 2024 season, maybe around the trading deadline?
I don't think it'll happen during the offseason, but I guess during the deadline, it's a chance it could happen if they're in another losing year. I do think the owner, though, Artie Moreno, really does cherish and really understand the value of a superstar. Yeah. And Trout still is a superstar in this league, and Ohtani was one of them. So that's why it had to really hurt to lose Ohtani for them, especially too, just the marketing reasons, just the money he brings in, the fans he brought in. So I think if they lost Trout too, it would be hard to kind of keep the fans interested, even from a PR standpoint, to lose two superstars in one off season like that.
Rhett Ballinger covering the Angels for MLB.com. Rhett, we appreciate you taking a little time for us. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thanks so much.